Hold on. You might be wondering why we're rocketing down this road in the middle of nowhere right now. Let's start over. This is a road outside of Rachel, Nevada, known as the Extraterrestrial Highway. It was a hot day in July, and we were making our way to one of the most infamous UFO-related locations in America when we bumped into these guys. One of the men, who has a true fascination in secret government installations, brought a friend of his to see Area 51. Seeing as he had been there before and was willing to lead us there, we said yes. On July 8th, the Daily Mail ran a story about a Facebook event titled Storm Area 51. This innocuous, comical little parody event had somehow gathered over 165,000 attendees in a matter of hours. And in the days to follow, Area 51 would become the center of a meme that didn't want to die.
But then again, the name of the Facebook group is a little disconcerting. Storm Area 51. They can't stop all of us.
Out of the blue, Facebook explodes with this event. Storm Area 51. They can't stop us all.
What is the
alien
music?
stock? We're doing it.
But honestly,
I already got my blacklight tattoos.
Plus, we have the whole Storm Area 51 thing, but I think that guy said don't do it now.
Yeah, because it had meant to be a prank anyway.
So, okay, with Storm Area 51, if you don't know, on Facebook, it started as an event to be able to go to. It's basically Storm Area 51.
There is really no way, there is no precedent for this event. So there is no way to estimate how many people are going to show up. And if you come up to the area, absolutely do not go anywhere near the boundary. Base security will be on high alert. They will not be messing around. If you go near the boundary, if you even look like you want to cross the boundary, you will get arrested.
It just so happened, the same day that the meme went viral was the very point in time that we were making our way to Area 51 itself. Unbeknownst to us, while the internet lost its collective mind over Naruto running and clapping alien cheeks, we were at the gates of this very real, very serious government installation.
From what I understand, in different websites states something to the fact that it's about a $2,000 to $3,000 fine, overnight stay in the Alamo County Jail. Your vehicle is put in an impound yard about 2 hours north of here, and it's about $100 to $200 a day. So basically, they're taking your vehicle and they're going to sell it on the government. This is Nevada National Security site area here, so they don't have to play by the same rules as the military. They'll give you an ample opportunity to go screw up the rest of your life, and then they'll stop you. Yeah.
I mean, that building there has completely reflective glass. So
They could be.
I'm
There could be
assuming
somebody
that
in there drinking a cup of coffee, watching us.
How many times a day do you think they see people right here, or down where the cars are?
Oh,
It's gotta be the biggest tourist attraction
Yeah,
in the
a
area.
lot.
You're right. They
because-
must just be like twiddling their thumbs, like,
You
here
go,
we go
when
again.
you go to Rachel, it looks like a dust storm back there often with the cars.
Yeah.
We happen to hit on a low travel day.
Can you elaborate a little bit, just in case, on what your experience is with the military and all that?
Well, I used to be a cop for them, and so I was involved in a lot of cool things. Not here, but
What about conspiracy theories, especially those relating to like hidden military bases and UFOs?
absolutely that stuff. 28 years with them. I don't research or something like that. I can see, but the other stuff, I don't do the tinfoil hat stuff at all.
You can't escape conspiracies when it comes to ufology. Nearly as soon as Kenneth Arnold cited those strange flying objects in 1947, the culture of cover-ups and hidden agendas seemed to seep its way into the subject. Today, thanks to shows like The X-Files and Project Blue Book, UFOs and conspiracies are intertwined. One thing I've noticed about this particular subtopic of the genre is that it seems to move far beyond simply the experiencers at the heart of the subject and forces us to ask some bigger questions about not just UFOs, but our own government and the world we live in. The downside is that it often does so at the risk of rational thinking.
Maybe inevitably, the study of UFOs has become interlaced with conspiracy theories.
It seems as if the rise of reporting on UFOs coincides with the rise of conspiracy culture, and a lot of that has to do with the way that reports were handled by the United States government when they came in. And the original official policy of the Air Force was to deny everything, to conduct studies that would attempt to and state fairly clearly that their intention was to explain everything away. And that gave rise then to a sense that from a public standpoint, that we're not being told everything that's actually happening.
You know, I'll preface this by saying I don't think the military gets in there or intelligence gets in there and leads people astray because they don't want them to know the truth about UFOs. They don't want them to get near sensitive information, whatever that might be, and I don't think it really has anything to do with UFOs. But the subject can be used to direct people's attention in certain ways, because I don't think they exactly know what's going on. If they did, we wouldn't hear about it, right? Because they'd know, and they wouldn't have to say anything about it.
A UFO conspiracy doesn't need to involve elaborate plots, shadowy men in black, or any of the trappings that pop culture has focused on for the last couple decades now. It can be as simple as one person of power choosing to quiet a report of something that they simply don't know how to deal with. In 1947, something crashed in the desert outside Roswell, New Mexico. And in the days that followed the crash, the Air Force made every effort to not only quiet the incident, but to bury it entirely. Years later, we still don't know what actually happened in Roswell, despite every effort by researchers to ascertain proof that it was a crashed saucer that fell in the desert. It's possible that something unexplained did fall from the sky, and that the real cause of all the misinformation, discrediting, and quieting of witnesses that took place in the years to follow was that our own government didn't understand what they'd found.
Moore identified the wreckage in the Jesse Marcel picture as a Mogul ML-307B that had been launched from Alamogordo, New Mexico. He confirmed a crash would have spread wreckage over a large area. And why wouldn't anyone have recognized it? Well, Moore said no one around Roswell had ever seen one. Moore was even cleared to know about Mogul flights.
Roswell is far from the only case of the U.S. military quieting the reports of a high-profile incident involving a UAP. And not all of them are based in the United States.
The Tehran incident is one that, even for ones that are skeptic, they'll say, well, there is maybe something to that. So Can you describe more about what you saw, or can you talk about that?
Yeah, Tehran was a city, or is a city in Iran, of approximately 2 million people at the time.
And this happened in September of 1976. Over the city, people had started reporting seeing strange lights in the sky. More and more calls started to come into the local airport about it, and they said, we have nothing up there, so we don't know what this is. It then got turned over to the Iranian Air Force.
A UFO was spotted by not just the local yokels. Turns out it was the Secretary of Defense for Iran, the head of the Iranian Royal Imperial Air Force. They launched an F4, which was at that time one of the top fighters in the world.
So the pilot goes up there, and he is in the area where people had reported seeing this. And the closer he got, the more the instruments on his plane started to malfunction.
As soon as the F4 electronics locked onto the UFO, the electronics on board the aircraft shut down. The planes started to fall from the sky. As soon as they're no longer a threat, all the electronics returned.
He couldn't communicate and let them know what he was seeing or what was going on. So he got pretty scared. The closer he got to this thing, these lights, the more things seemed to go wrong. So he knew at that point, like, I gotta bail. I have no weaponry that's working. His weaponry malfunctioned. I could run out of fuel if I stay up here too long. And no one knows where the hell I actually am.
In the meantime, the UFO was spotted by 2 airline pilots, over 500,000 people. The UFO disappears. They recalled the fighters, and then they spotted it across the city on the mountains on the other side of the city. It appeared to land.
So he lands, he reports what he'd seen. He was told not to talk about it. The next day, he and several investigators from the Iranian Air Force and the CIA in America went out to look for whatever that object was that went into the area. They never found anything, but after that, the CIA, the DIA got involved, and it was now an American case. We were loaning our planes to the Iranian Air Force at the time. So they wanted to know what was outmaneuvering our own technology. I would imagine the conversations were not too friendly, and that just like always, our intelligence agencies probably bullied their way in. But Parviz Jafari, the guy who was a part of all this, he was told to never talk about it, and he didn't. And that came straight from the CIA at that time.
While simple intimidation and instruction to secrecy may seem to run counter to the more romantic notion of a conspiracy, in UFO circles, this sort of case is by far the most common and verifiable version of the government actively covering up a UFO sighting. The bulk of conspiracies tend to revolve around crashed objects and secret installations. While Roswell was the first purported crash to make the mainstream, it wasn't the last, and it certainly wasn't the only one to involve the government and a military base. While Area 51 gets all the attention, it's Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio that comes up far more often in official documents recovered via Freedom of Information Act requests involving unknown objects.
So Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio has long been a focal point of those studying the UFO question. The fascinating thing is that when we look at that region of the country, of course, in Pennsylvania nearby, we have a very famous incident, the Kecksburg UFO incident, where something crashed and was recovered and also potentially taken to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Well, I remember that night very clearly, December 9, 1965. Thursday night, I'm listening to a radio station in Pittsburgh, and there's breaking news that this brilliant fiery object was seen from Ontario, Canada, over Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. So multitudes of people saw the object as it passed over. As the evening went on, more information came in that whatever the object was, it apparently fell into a wooded ravine near the little village of Kecksburg in Westmoreland County. Then you had the local fire departments come in, searching for a possible downed aircraft, and then soon after, the military arrives. And multitudes of witnesses, including reporters on the scene, confirmed the fact that the military was here. So we know Army and Air Force were involved. We later learned from various sources that the object left this area on a large military flatbed tractor trailer with a tarp over it and went to Lockbourne Air Force Base near Columbus, Ohio, under very heavy guard. I was told they backed the truck and the object into a hangar. They set up a security perimeter around it and were given a shoot-to-kill order to anybody approach that hangar without the proper clearance. It stayed there for a short time, then continued on to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And where it's at today, we don't know.
A lot of people believe that alien bodies and crash debris were whisked off to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. The idea, again, is that it was secreted away so that it could be kept from the American public and so that military specialists could study the hardware and determine exactly what we were dealing with and possibly back engineer it, as some conspiracy theorists say.
So how does a conspiracy theory begin its life? And is there any way to peel back decades of lies and disinformation to get at the truth of what may really be going on? In some ways, the only approach available is to simply ask the questions that need asked. Questions like, what does the government have to gain from covering up UFOs? Where does the cover-up originate? Where does the cover-up take place? Or, what are we even covering up to begin with?
I think there's a lot of reasons why the government would conceal UFOs. I mean, the most conspiratorial kind of out there fringe idea is that they're in cahoots with the aliens, and so they don't want us to know. The Air Force has been trying to protect us from them over the years, and that now they kind of have more ability to do that. Others have felt that perhaps there's been a trade of technology. Some people have said that they allow, the government allows them to abduct people in exchange for technology.
So you are of the camp that we do have materials that, or the government has materials that have been recovered from UFO crashes, or do you think that's all some elaborate?
Allegedly. I don't know, because I'm not a scientist. I haven't seen the parts, and like I said, I'm not going to pass judgment on something. I'm going to sit there and listen, and I'm going to watch. And as far as I can tell, there's pieces, apparently physical pieces of something that people say fell off of or came off of some crashed anomalous flying thing.
Now, proponents of that theory point to things like our rapid advancement in technology, military hardware like the stealth bomber and so forth. They say, oh, there's no way we could have developed that on our own with the place we were at technologically. You know, it's too much of a leap.
But over the years, I've kind of felt, and others have talked about this too, is that, you know, if you're a general in the Air Force or in charge of the airspace over the United States, how likely would you be to admit that, you know, you don't have control over our airspace? Even if the public wouldn't freak out, just for your own credibility, you wouldn't necessarily be too excited about sharing that kind of information.
It is kind of curious when we look at the details of some of these theories. Of course, Area 51, which is you know, constantly in the media, it seems, has long been a focal point of some of those conspiracy theories.
Area 51's fame is so widespread that many completely overlook the true nature and incredible actual objective of the place in favor of focusing on its UFO lore instead. Its official name is either Groom Lake or Homey Airport, although, obviously, don't try getting a commercial flight into KXTA, or you might find yourself shot out of the sky.
The geographical spot of Groom Lake is called home plate. Takeoffs are smooth from Groom Lake.
The land where Area 51 sits today was acquired in 1955 and encompassed 38,400 acres of land. Today, it's much larger than that. The base is a testing ground for aircraft such as the U-2 spy plane, the A-12, and the F-117. It's a still functioning facility with a massive number of personnel working on site, though most are private contractors who fly out of McCarran International Airport in Las Vegas on the infamous unmarked Janet airplanes. Today, there's more fiction than reality floating around online regarding the base, and separating the two is nearly impossible without speaking to someone in the know. Most of this was kickstarted in the late 80s by a man named Bob Lazar.
Hi, I'm Bob Lazar. During late 1988 and early 89, I worked on the propulsion systems of extraterrestrial vehicles for the United States government. Between December of 88 and April of 89, I worked as a senior staff physicist in what has to be the most secret project in history, My place of work was a facility at an area known as S4 on the Nellis Air Force Range in central Nevada. Area S4 is located approximately 15 miles south of the infamous Area 51 installation at Groom Lake, where the U-2 and SR-71 spy planes were developed.
So just fall of 2019, we see this huge interest in Area 51, and it really took a lot of people by surprise, but it's not entirely a new phenomena. Area 51 has captured Americans' hearts and imagination for many years. A lot of this started post-Roswell, where there was a debate about where the wreckage was being taken, and they knew it was taken to a secret government facility, and this really got solidified with Bob Lazar coming out in the 80s with what was happening at S4 and the testing of alien technology, particularly alien technology as a result of Roswell.
Area 51, I would call it mythology, and when I use the term mythology, it doesn't mean that it's not necessarily true, but it's a story out there that cannot usually be confirmed. And this is one of those where one person came out and said that he worked on back engineering alien technology at Area 51.
Well, of course, the rumor was that, Bob Lazar was working out there reverse engineering extraterrestrial spacecraft, and maybe they possess alien bodies on ice out there, something to that effect.
So there's at least one live alien living there.
There definitely is one live alien, regardless of what Bob says today. Yeah. We're talking about Bob Lazar. During December and January, December of 1988, January of 1989, when he was working out there, he sat right in that chair whenever he'd come back from the test site, and he'd tell me what he saw.
Bob Lazar, of course, came forward in the late 80s, and this was at a time when, Area 51 was being put on the map, and that was a place to go if you wanted to see a UFO.
You have people like Bob Lazar, for example, coming out, making claims in the 1990s about having worked at a portion of Area 51. And his claims didn't happen in a vacuum. They happened at a time when news reporting was a major way that people received their information.
He was interviewed by George Knapp, a very credible investigative journalist, who says that he has had unnamed sources who have remained anonymous that confirm that he really did that. But unfortunately, these people aren't coming forward, so we just have this one person. Otherwise, we don't really have any information that UFOs were investigated at Area 51.
Where they originally built the nuclear rocket. All that facility's there. This is the famed Yucca Mountain where they want to store stuff. This is Groom Lake, that's the news strip there. TTR is up there. The orientation of the runway is there. On December 23rd,
I knew Bob Lazar before he worked at Area S4.
That's where we were wondering if you wanted to talk about Bob.
Okay. No, Bob was a skeptic bordering on debunker. So several months we met at John Lear's house, and he came and he says, "You guys were totally freaking right. I'm working on one of these things." And he explained it all, and he says, "Come on out, we'll go out and watch it. They fly every Wednesday night."
So he said we got one, and
he was working.
One off planet or one that was a copy of something or back.
He said he was told that they shot it down and had a big dent in the side. So we went out on a Wednesday night, dark 30 in the morning, and we're in a cut where the road's like 20 feet down here in this, and we could see him flying around, and so.
What kind of maneuvers?
Just dancing around. It was all the impression I got, although there's no confirmation, was, okay, it's your night to fly it, Bill. Okay, let's see what it'll do. That's the impression I got, the way it was flying around and doing all kinds of crazy things. It was almost like somebody that knew how to fly was having a ball with the ultimate flying machine, flying around doing crazy aerial maneuvers.
You didn't see it up close or?
No. All we could see was bright lights, looked like starlight, or we're saying, what the hell is that? There's lights, there's the camo dudes, I think they're called, are on the hills above us, shining headlights down on us. So they want Bob Lazar. And so we said, screw this. We hop in our cars and we're heading back. Now we're on a pretty good dirt road doing maybe 60 miles an hour. These guys are in Broncos going across. We get down to the main highway, and there's the sheriff blocking the road. And so he stops us, takes all of our ID, gives us a big chewing out. Bob gets chewed out. About an hour later, we go back home with stories to tell, but it was...
What do you think is actually going on at Area 51?
Probably not much now, but it's got too much publicity. Remember that at the time, we were in a pretty severe Cold War with the Soviet Union. And the first photographs I ever saw of Area 51 came from the Soviet Union. But no, I don't think they're doing much of any testing out there anymore.
Despite its place in ufology and pop culture, Area 51 remains an extremely secretive military installation whose activities we still aren't really clear on. We know that there was testing of aircraft which took place on site, but as to verifying any of the claims made over the years regarding aliens and UFOs, well, it's all still a mystery. In some ways, Area 51 is best viewed as a microcosm for the conspiracy culture permeating the subject. While evidence of cover-ups and shadowy goings-on exist, there's no real proof, and all we're left with is speculation. Does any of the theorizing taking place regarding this particular topic actually offer any consolation that we still have no idea what's flying around in the skies?
At the heart of conspiracy theory, I think, is the desire to explain everything in a satisfying way. Tied to that is the sense that the world is out of control. It's falling apart right before our eyes. We want there to be a reason that that's happening. And conspiracy theories do us the service of saying there is a nefarious plot, there is a plan.
So when folklore study conspiracy theories, there's oftentimes this underlying sense of disbelief about why people would even buy into the concept relating to any kind of conspiracy theory. However, when you really delve deep and you begin to look at the conspiracy itself, as well as the numerous amount of rumors that really generate that conspiracy theory, you find that more often than not, the people who are providing those rumors have had a historical experience that explains why they would buy into that conspiracy theory in the first place.
The fact of the matter is, conspiracy theory, properly understood of course, led to things like the American Revolution, in the sense that we were pretty sure that we were being ripped off by the government of Great Britain and decided to do something about it.
So the governmental distrust really is not a new concept, nor is it one that's completely unfounded.
People who like and value freedom, in order to really be free, you have to have as much of the facts as you can have.
Kind of sounds like there might not be anything going on out here other than like sort of traditional, you know, military craft testing and things like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation about how much might be underground. The hangars there are massive, and it, of course, is one of the longest runways in the country. Do I think they're still working on some stuff there? Maybe. They might be housing some stuff, maybe storing it there. But I think with all the attention it's gotten.
Yeah, I mean, you can literally go into the little alien and ask them for directions to Area 51. So, like, this place has become part of the lore, like, more so than probably any other piece of ufology other than maybe, like, Roswell. Everyone knows Area 51.
Right, and that's the whole thing. Is there's such a mystery of the not knowing is there anything alien there? Was there ever anything alien there? And besides that, even if that is something that we made, did we get that technology from something off planet?
Coming up on the next episode of On the Trail of UFOs.
It's behind us here, Brown Mountain, North Carolina, in the Black Mountain Range, just outside of the Linville Gorge.
So we turned and looked the opposite direction, and there they were, just whizzing around. It's kind of a strange movement that they were making, and to me it reminded me like an ember that comes off of like a fire.
If you take it just as it is, it's a UFO phenomenon. It's an unidentified aerial phenomenon.